Volunteers are a vital part of the work we do at Back Bay Mission. Without the hundreds of volunteers we welcome to the Mississippi Gulf Coast each year, we wouldn't be able to strengthen neighborhoods, seek justice, and transform lives through ministries like our housing rehabilitation program, the Micah Day Center, and our food pantry. I'm Chris Marlin Warfield, the Church Relations Associate here at Back Bay Mission, and this National Volunteer Week, I want to introduce you to a few of the volunteers who take time out of their busy lives to serve the poor and marginalized of the Mississippi Gulf Coast and the people of the United Church of Christ through their work with Back Bay Mission. Today, I'm talking with Benji Benzschawel. Last December, Benji joined our staff as the Assistant to the Associate for Housing Recovery and Volunteer Programs. In this role, he works with volunteers on housing rehabilitation projects. Before he took this position, however, he was a volunteer for many, many years, coming regularly to the Mississippi Gulf Coast to work in our housing rehabilitation ministry.
In the early 90s, I got involved with our church on the Mission and Outreach Commission, which is the committee that identifies opportunities for volunteers. In that role, my primary focus became Habitat for Humanity. The local affiliate had just organized the year before, and our church, in search of mission partners, had thought that Habitat would be a good mission partner, and indeed it has been really ever since. That involvement introduced me to two people that had a big impact. The first was Millard Fuller, the founder of Habitat for Humanity. I had the opportunity to meet him very early on in our relationship with Habitat. And quite honestly, I took a day off of work to go and see him speak at a university nearby, near Appleton. And I went back to work the next day and with the nagging sense that none of what was happening around me was as important as the people around me thought it was. Meeting him, really got me to thinking, gee, is chasing the dollars that you do in a corporate job really, where my focus needs to be. Also at that time, another member of our committee was Noel Egebrotten, who was heavily involved with the mission groups to Habitat or to Back Bay Mission. And at that time, we were having mission groups come to Back Bay every other year. And it was, I think as you know, primarily a paint and stripe program, although our guys were known for, if more extensive work was needed, they would just go to Lowe's and get the materials and come back and rebuild the porch and then paint it. So, and every trip, he said, "Oh, you got to come with us, Benji. You got to come with us." "Oh, yeah, I really want to. I really would like to. I really will. But, soccer tournaments and family demands and limited vacations meant maybe next time." By 2005, I was self-employed, so I had as much vacation as I wanted. We were empty nesters, so I wasn't as involved with the kids' lives. And so after Hurricane Katrina hit, my wife and I looked at each other and said, "We've really got to do this." And we did. And I'll tell you, as much as I would like to have come pre-Katrina, I'm glad that it went as it did, because then it was something that we did together, Pam and I, and not something that she joined that I had already been involved in.
Benji didn't stay a volunteer, of course, and we'll come to his transition to staff in a little bit. But first I wanted to hear from Benji what it was like to be a volunteer at Back Bay Mission. What kept him coming back, and, of course, what is it that made him want to make that transition to being part of our staff?
Some of the things that Back Bay Mission offers that maybe aren't there when I'm doing volunteer work at home is, part of it is getting away from your day-to-day life. When you volunteer for Habitat for Humanity, you get up on Saturday morning, put on your tool belt, and you go and work for the day, and go home and have dinner in your home, and the next day you're still focused on all of those household things that need to be taken care of. When you do a mission trip, you're sort of separated from that day-to-day life for a period of time. And typically for Back Bay, it's a week. And that does something. It enables you, it kind of frees you to just focus on the needs around you and the work that you're accomplishing to meet those needs. And there's also one of the big benefits is the relationship you develop with your fellow work campers. You get to know people on a level that far exceeds anything you can do when you serve on a committee with them at church or have coffee with them in the narthex. There's Craig likes to talk about it's a different world of getting to know someone when you sleep 3 inches away from the other person's face. And that's true, but more important than knowing who in your congregation snores and who doesn't is just getting to know a little more about what makes them tick and what motivates their decisions and how they approach things. And some of the best friends that I've made are the people that I would not have gotten to know except for the mission trips. I'm looking forward to them coming back down because they're close friends that I don't want to lose touch with. And that, like I said, that just doesn't happen in a regular day-to-day church life experience. Sometimes you can serve on a board with somebody and you develop a closeness and a trust, but it's just not the same as being sequestered for a week. Another part of the work camp experience is the work that gets done, because that's very meaningful as well, and it's again making a difference for people in need and getting away from getting out of your comfort zone a little bit, getting exposed to a lifestyle, if you will, a culture that's different from what you have back home. Being from the upper Midwest, there's a certain way that we do things, a certain attitude, I guess, a certain work ethic. Although I don't want to put too much focus on that. But just a certain way that you go about things that's a little bit different than the way it is in the South. We like to think we're friendly back home, but there's a whole different passion for each other that occurs in the South that you don't see as much in the Midwest. So those cultural differences, exposures are very important as well.
As I mentioned, Benji didn't stay a volunteer. He made the transition from being a volunteer to being part of our staff. That's a transition that he understood that he wanted to make very early on in his experience with Back Bay Mission. That
first visit, I talked with the then director, Sherry Priestman, about the possibility of working for Back Bay. I really felt like this was a calling, and as I said, ever since the early 90s, I had this thought in the back of my mind that I should be doing something more than doing the occasional mission trip or the occasional weekend Habitat for Humanity work. Unfortunately, when the job became available, the time wasn't right for us yet. And every year since then, we looked at each other and said, yes, we've got to do this, but not now. And thankfully, this last year, we said, you know what, I think it's now. And so I've been thrilled to be able to make this a full-time vocation. I needed to do more than work for a living and then try to make a difference in my spare time. We really wanted to work to make a difference. And frankly, it was partly a matter of getting ourselves to a financial position to be able to do that. When I started the business, we took on quite a bit of debt, and it was a matter of working off that debt before we could be able to afford to work for nonprofit wages, quite frankly. The next question is, why move halfway across the country to do it? Well, part of it is the need is great here. The statistics, Mississippi has the highest poverty level in the country. There's, without getting too much into the politics of it, I've always felt that people aren't given a fair shake, and that if people have an opportunity and aren't given a fair shake, they will make a better life for themselves. And that's the kind of work I saw happening at Back Bay Mission. Not that work doesn't get done in my hometown. It certainly does, and there certainly were opportunities there as well. But we just felt strongly that this was something we were called for to be here. It's difficult to describe. It's not just a matter of moving to a better climate. I'll admit that that's part of the equation. But a big part of it is the staff at Back Bay. The work that's done by Back Bay is very impressive. I think Craig does a wonderful job with the housing recovery program, and I wanted to be a part of that. And I knew that having worked with Craig every year since he started here, I knew that he and I would be compatible in terms of how we approach the projects and just our attitude toward the whole process, and the commitment to helping the work campers to have a positive experience. So all of those things combine to say, okay, let's do this, and let's do it there.
As both a volunteer and a member of the staff, Benji has seen the incredible power of Back Bay Mission.
I've always felt very strongly that my best prayers are swinging a hammer. I really have internalized the notion that faith without works is dead. You can't be a Christian on Sunday and spend the rest of the week living in the normal world, grubbing for everything like everybody else. With the lack of a UCC church on the Gulf Coast is a concern. One of the things that I'll miss a lot about my home city is my home church. It's a great congregation. They do great things, but that's the important thing, is doing great things. I came here so that I can live my faith every day of the week, and really make it a life work rather than an avocational thing. So yeah, Back Bay Mission has to be the only UCC presence on the Gulf Coast. I'm glad it's this, and I'd almost rather see it be this than a single church.
I often say that Back Bay Mission is a church that doesn't look like a church. We're a place where our faith, where your faith, can be put to work, serving the poor and marginalized of the Mississippi Gulf Coast. If you would like to learn more about volunteering at Back Bay Mission, please visit our website, thebackbaymission.org.